What a great day. I'd like to welcome everybody to the 2025 Caregiver Summit. Absolutely thrilled to have you with us. I'm Ron Eisenberg. I serve as your MC for today. And we'd like to welcome all of our attendees and our sponsors. This is an exciting day. We have 637 people registered, 323 online, and 320 in person. The in-person locations are Texas, Dallas, in Texas, San Antonio, Dallas, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, Harlingen, McAllen, and Florida in Tampa. We have registrants from 28 states, including Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, and we have folks in Germany, Nigeria, Kenya, and Canada who are registered. And if I missed your country or location, I apologize. That's the latest list I have, but I'm sure it will be updated later on. November is National Family Caregiver Month. The theme this year is Plug into Care, highlighting the importance of connecting with the right resources at the right time and in the right way. Let us join together in honoring the family caregivers. They are indeed quiet heroes who devote their time, energy, and hearts to making sure someone else is never alone in their journey. Thank you. Thank you all for what you do. This year, the summit is a hybrid event. Speakers and participants are online, and we're also having those watch parties, as I mentioned, in several locations across Texas and in Tampa, Florida. We have people all over the country joining us today, and as some I noted are international friends, and if you're not sure if they are in attendance, but we have people who registered from Canada, Germany, Kenya, and Nigeria. Now, some basic housekeeping rules. Please use the Q&A feature to ask questions of our speakers. The chat feature is used to share your thoughts and ideas. If you're having technical difficulties, we encourage you to call this number, 866-390-6491. That number again, it's on the screen, 866-390-6491. The sessions all will be recorded, and we will send out an electronic survey after the summit for those online and a paper survey before you leave if you are in one of our locations and in person. Social work and nursing CEUs are being offered. Certificates of attendance will also be available. Make sure you fill out your survey to indicate which one you would like and what name you would like on the certificate. Certificates will be ready the week following the summit. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Carol Zernial. She's a nationally recognized gerontologist, named one of the nation's top 50 influencers in aging by Next Avenue, the journalism arm of public broadcasting system. Carol holds a master's degree in social gerontology, and she's been in the field of aging for over 30 years. Carol serves as executive director of the WellMed Charitable Foundation and senior vice president for social responsibility for WellMed Medical Management. She is past chair of the board of directors for the National Council on Aging, and Carol currently serves as the co-chair of the Raise Family Caregiving Advisory Council under the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. Carol also co-hosts our weekly Caregiver SOS on-air podcast and radio show. Carol, welcome to the summit.
Thank you so much, Ron. It is really a pleasure to be here this morning. You know, today, we say this every year, but it's true. Caregivers, today is your day. Today, you are our VIPs, and you are the reason we do what we do all year. And you can know you're a VIP by looking at our list of speakers today. I just said, wow, 3 of my favorite professionals all in one place to give great advice. Barry Jacobs and Julia Mayer, I have all their books. Deirdre Edwards, I don't know anybody who gives more practical advice than Deirdre. So super excited to hear all of their comments today and their thoughts. And I know all of us are going to take something home that we can use. Myself, I have also been a caregiver. My mother had Alzheimer's, my sister had cancer, and my father lived to age 94, and I was a caregiver for all 3 of them. So most of us have a story. Most of us have walked that walk, or we know someone who has. So feel free to take notes, to share those with your family members, your friends who are also on a caregiving journey. And Ron, I'm so glad you mentioned Caregiver SOS on air, our podcast. If you like what you hear today, all of our speakers today have been on our podcast. You can check it out on our Caregiver SOS website, find all the recordings of our podcasts, and get even more information, more advice every week throughout the year on Caregiver SOS on air, wherever you get your podcasts. So I'll just close my comments by saying thank you to ACOG, Area Agencies on Aging. They have been our partners from the beginning in our Caregiver Summit. We so appreciate, your partnership. And to all of the caregivers, we wish you a fantastic day. Enjoy.
Super. Thank you, Carol. And speaking of ACOG, let me welcome Maria Hernandez, the Area Agencies on Aging Manager at the Alamo Area Council of Governments. Originally from Puerto Rico, Maria moved to Texas 10 years ago after completing her Master's of Social Work at Boston College. She's a licensed Master's Social Worker who has dedicated her career to supporting diverse older adults and their families. Maria has served in a variety of roles within governmental and nonprofit agencies. These agencies include the Alamo Area Council of Governments, ACOG, the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, and Meals on Wheels in San Antonio. Maria is the Area Agencies on Aging Manager of Integrated Services at ACOG, where she oversees the daily operation of the Alamo and Bexar County Agencies on Aging. Her work focuses on enhancing programs that support aging in place. On a personal note, Maria enjoys family outings with her husband and daughter. Her favorite hobby? Crocheting, just like Roosevelt Greer, who used to play for the Los Angeles Rams. So you've got a good partner in that. Maria, welcome. Unmute yourself, and delighted to have you on.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Caregiver Summit, Empowering Caregivers to Thrive. Thank you for joining us. We are excited about today's program and confident that you will discover meaningful tools to support both the care you give to others and the care you give to yourselves. Please know that we are here to offer a helping hand, listen to your needs, and encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Your strength, love, and dedication are heroic, and the simple act of caring can create hope and make a significant difference. Remember to be compassionate with yourself, acknowledge that you are enough, and that taking care of yourself is crucial to care for others. You are a source of strength and hope for those you care for, and your efforts are seen and appreciated. Finally, I want to share a quote with the hope that it brings you peace and joy. Caring about others, running the risk of feeling, and leaving an impact on people brings happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Maria. That's beautiful. Really appreciate it. Let me take a moment and thank the sponsors who helped make this event possible. I'll read the names, and each of you wish a special thanks to all those who are making this happen. Sacred Mission Hospice, Veranda Rehab and Healthcare, Learning Skills Together, Amble, Christus Palliative and Hospice, Cigna, Geneva Hospice, Humana, Legacy Insurance and Wealth Services, Loss of Life Advocates, Mobility 101, USA Renal, Amor Eterno, Certified Senior Advisor, Clean Zoom, Respite and Housekeeping, EV Texas Fire Services, Medicare Pro, The Bridges at Mission, Uresti Senior Assistance, Vitas, Brookdale Trinity Towers in Corpus Christi, Cameron County Public Health, Guiding Light Hospice, Jack in the Box, Jason's Deli in McAllen, Texas, New Horizon Health Center in Brownsville, Older Adults Technology, AARP, and Sage Care Management. They're the ones who are providing the CEUs. And let me take a moment now. We've got a special message from Sacred Mission Hospice.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. May with Sacred Mission Hospice, and I'm so thankful to be here with you today to talk about something that truly matters, how we care for one another at end of life. When people hear the word hospice, they often think there's nothing more that can be done. And reality is that could be furthest from the truth. Hospice is all about doing more comfort, more compassion, and more focus on what truly matters to each person and family. When I counsel family and friends on what questions to ask hospice companies when they're interviewing them for their loved one's care, I encourage people to ask, Who is the physician overseeing my care? Are they trained or board certified in hospice and palliative medicine? Will they be coming to the home to see my loved one? What is the nurse to patient ratio for your company? Because you don't want that number to be too high so that that nurse that's caring for your loved one has the time and can come if there's an urgent issue or emergency. One of the most powerful things we can do when we're looking at hospice care is to start the conversations early. Talking about hospice care, interviewing companies, getting more familiar with the benefit before you're in crisis mode in the hospital and you're struggling with how to get home and who to pick. That process is important because it's giving you a chance to establish and make sure that your values, your faith, your wishes for your end-of-life care are followed and honored. When hospice is started early on, we as a team are able to manage your symptoms more effectively and to support the entire family emotionally and spiritually and make sure that no one walks this road alone. I've seen families find peace, healing, and even moments of joy in what we thought would be the hardest season of their lives. That's the gift of hospice. It helps people live fully right up until the end. I chose to do my medical training and work in hospice because I believe the end of life is a sacred chapter, one that deserves the same care, dignity, and love as every other part of our story. At Sacred Mission Hospice, it would be our honor to walk beside you and your loved ones throughout that journey, to listen, to guide, and to provide the comfort and support you deserve. So I encourage you and your loved ones to have these conversations early. Talk with your family, your doctor, your faith leaders. And if you ever have questions or need support, please reach out to us. We would be honored to assist you.
Thank you, Dr. May. Our Sacred Mission Hospital, we appreciate it, our platinum sponsor. It's a pleasure now to introduce a couple married and both professionals in their own right, Dr. Barry Jacobs and Dr. Julia Mayer. Barry is a clinical psychologist, a family therapist, and a principal for Health Management Associates, a national healthcare consulting firm. He's a former magazine journalist, author of the Emotional Survival Guide for Caregivers, looking after yourself and your family while helping an aging parent. He's also co-author with his wife, Julia Mayer, on Meditations for Caregivers, Practical, Emotional, and Spiritual Support for You and Your Family. AARP Love and Meaning After 50, the 10 Challenges to Great Relationships and How to Overcome Them. And the AARP Caregiver Answer Book. He's also written a self-help column for caregivers for aarp.org since 2013. Barry's a board member of the Caregiver Action Network, a national family caregiving advisory and support organization, and a former director of behavioral sciences for the Crozer Health Family Medicine Residency. He maintains a psychotherapy practice in Media, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, specializing in supporting individuals with chronic and serious illness and their caregivers. For 7 years, he was the primary caregiver for his stepfather with Alzheimer's disease and mother with vascular dementia. And his partner in life as well as work, Julia Mayer. She's a clinical psychologist in private practice in Media, Pennsylvania. She's specialized for 3 decades in helping women in caregiver roles, as well as those with troubled marriages and histories of sexual trauma. Julia is the author of the novel A Fleeting State of Mind and co-author of AARP Meditations for Caregivers and AARP Love and Meaning After 50. She's a former president of the board of the Psychology Network. She was a caregiver for her father and mother-in-law with vascular dementia and her stepfather-in-law with Alzheimer's disease. Now, before we bring them on, a couple of housekeeping notes. Please, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A and we'll get those to them after their presentation. Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Mayer will be answering those questions, so feel free to put them in that box. Now, at the end of their presentation, I want to remind all of you put any questions in the box and we'll present those to you. Please welcome Barry and Julia.
Thank you so much, Ron. Really a pleasure for us to be here. And thank you, WellMed Charitable Foundation. Thank you, ACOG. Thank you, all the sponsors. And it's really an honor for us to be here.
It is.
Just a quick technical question. Are we sharing our slides or are you sharing them?
You'll be sharing your slides.
Very good. I appreciate the response. So, okay. So I'm hoping the slides are becoming visible now.
We see the slides.
Good, excellent. And they're not in slideshow mode. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm Barry Jacobs. As you heard, I'm a clinical psychologist. And
I'm Julia Mayer. I'm also a clinical psychologist. We are married for over 35 years.
yeah, 35 wonderful years, mind you. So the topic for our presentation today is the 6 questions that most worry family caregivers. And we could have come up with lots of questions that most worry family caregivers, but these are the 6 that we identified as being perhaps the ones that really stick in the craw the most for caregivers. So what we'd like to do today is going to do very briefly an overview of caregiving in America. We're going to talk about some of these 6 common questions, and then we really want to have some time to talk about the questions that you'd like to discuss, because there are many questions that come up in the realm of caregiving, and the ones that we chose may not be the ones that are most pressing for you, and we'd like to, if we can, try to respond to the ones that you have as well. So hopefully this is what you have in mind for our portion of today's summit. A lot of the information that we're going to be providing today is from our newest book, which came out in July, the AARP Caregiver Answer Book. It has nearly 150 questions and answers, some of the most common questions that caregivers have asked us over the past 30 years. And
It's really meant to be a roadmap for new caregivers in particular, just because it answers everything we've ever been asked.
great. So, as you heard Ron say, we're professionals, but we also have our former caregivers. And because honestly, most caregivers don't really care about whether someone has a psychology degree or not. What they really care about is, have you walked the walk? And yes, we have walked the walk. So here is a photo from 2017 of me and my mom. This is actually about a month before she died. My mom had vascular dementia. And as Ron mentioned, Julie and I took care of her and my stepfather, who had Alzheimer's disease, for about 7 years after we had moved him up from Florida to live in an apartment a mile from us in our suburban Philadelphia community.
And this is a picture of myself, my brothers, and my father there in the middle. My mother was his caregiver. My dad had vascular dementia and kidney disease. And my mother unfortunately died suddenly after a heart surgery. And so while we were pretty overcome with grief, my siblings and I, my sister also, she was taking the picture, we all had to kind of come together and figure out how to take care of my dad and coordinate among the siblings. So from that, I learned a lot about dealing with siblings and caregiving, and also just the stresses of it. It's as you all know, it's very hard.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about our personal backgrounds. Let's get to some of the questions. Actually, before we do that, let me very briefly just provide some context for what we're talking about today. So, according to the Caregiving in the U.S. report, the latest version of which came out in July, there are about 63 million Americans that are engaged in some form of caregiving in the course of the year. That's a lot of people. We have 340 million of Americans as a whole. So, 63 million is a pretty significant portion. Of that 63 million, more than a quarter of them are sandwich generation caregivers, meaning they're caring for a generation above them and one or two generations below them. A little less than half of them are caring for a parent, 15% are caring for a spouse, 11% are caring for a non-relative, 8% for a grandparent, and 6% are caring for an adult child. So A lot of Americans are doing this, doing all kinds of activities. They come from all kinds of backgrounds. This is a very large heterogeneous group, and I'm sure that's represented today in the attendees for the summit. What we know on the research about caregiving is that, as we say, caregiving brings strains and gains. So to talk about some of the gains first, many of us who have been caregivers, and I would, Julie and I have had these particular positive rewards of caregiving. We feel an enhanced sense of purpose through maybe giving back to parents who took very good care of us, or feeling like we're doing the right thing, the moral thing. Or if have a strong religious faith, we may feel like we're doing God's work in this world. But along with those gains, caregiving brings strains oftentimes. It may be something that is really important to us to do and very meaningful for us to do, but it's also stressful. And caregivers as a whole have higher rates of depression and anxiety. They have poorer overall health, oftentimes because they're stressed, but also because they are not going to their own doctor's appointments to care for their own chronic illnesses, their own blood pressure problems, their own diabetes. And having caring for someone with say a chronic illness or a progressive illness like dementia means that there's this sense of loss and grief that may pervade a lot of the caregiving both during it and afterwards. So caregiving is not easy, and that's one of the reasons we have this summit, one of the reasons that Julie and I do the work that we do, and that is we want to support folks to get more of the gains from caregiving and less of the strains. Um, so that's a little bit of context. And now let's go launch into the questions.
My family member needs help, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do or how. How do I figure this out? What if I mess it up?
So I think early on, this is a very common feeling that people have, especially if their loved one has suddenly had a heart attack or stroke and they're thrust into the caregiver role, or even if someone has a more progressive illness, a slowly progressing illness like Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease, suddenly they're in this role as a caregiver and they're not really sure what to do. So first thing we say to caregiver is everyone makes mistakes. And that doesn't mean you mess it up. There are very, very few mistakes that caregivers make that are dire. This is a learning process. And as part of that learning process, we have to all educate ourselves about whatever our caregiver's condition is. And as part of that learning, what the likely course of that illness or condition will be over time, what its treatments are and what the side effects of those treatments are, and the support services and other resources that may help us be a better caregiver. And so places like the WellMed Charitable Foundation and many different agencies around this country, as well as many nonprofit community-based organizations, are providing this education and are providing some of these supports. The other part of this is we have to really kind of look deep within ourselves and really have an honest determination of what is our availability, ability, and willingness. If we're working a job, we just simply can't be in two places at once. There may be certain work hours that we have, and then other times when we're caregiving. So our availability during the day, at least during the work week, may be limited, or we may live hundreds of miles away. We may not all have the same ability. Some of us may not be physically strong enough to pick up someone from the ground who may have fallen, or we may not be so good at handling insurance forms. So we have to be cognizant of the limitations of our abilities. And we all may not have the same degree of willingness for caring for a family member. We may have other priorities in our lives, like other family members to care for, or we may not have had a good relationship with the person who now needs care. And so our willingness may be limited. So, as part of determining what we're going to do, we have to always be cognizant of our availability, ability, and willingness. And last thing I'm going to say on this slide is, and this is something that we say constantly, is your job isn't to provide all the care that's needed yourself. Your job is to help ensure that your care receiver is well cared for, perhaps with the help of others or hired help. And that's something that many caregivers aren't always comfortable with because they feel like they're supposed to do it all. P.S. You're not supposed to do it all. You're supposed to make sure your loved one is well cared for. And any thoughts about any of that, Julie?
Yeah, I think that last point is perhaps one of the most important, because when people feel like they need to do it all, they are more likely to get exhausted from it and maybe even feel burned out. So, our goal here is to help people be the best caregivers they can be for as long as they need to be without harming themselves in the process.
Great. Okay, so let's go on to question 2, and I'm going to read this one for Julie to answer. I'm stressed out all the time. Is this just the life of a caregiver? Is there anything I can do to feel better?
So it sort of follows from what I was just saying. Feeling stressed is absolutely part of normal caregiving. About 80% of caregivers say that they are stressed or even highly stressed, and only 20% say they have no stress. I've actually never met anyone with no stress, so good for them. But the 80% need to manage that stress. So self-care is absolutely essential. And a lot of caregivers have said to us, well, I feel guilty taking that time away from my loved one to do something for myself, or I only have so much time and I need to dedicate it to my caregiving, so that self-care can wait. But it's actually essential, because if you don't preserve yourself, then you cannot carry out the mission that you have set for yourself. And that's the most important thing. You want to do the best caregiving you can, it means you have to maintain your own self, your physical and mental health. So you have to replenish yourself, and that means you have to be willing to do that. So, it's tough as caregivers because we do all feel guilt. You have to try to minimize that and remember that the better you're doing, the better caregiving you can provide. And we often use this metaphor that caregiving is like running a marathon. You need to pace yourself, you need to know the lay of the land, which means you need to know about your loved one's illness. And if someone's waving a water bottle at you at the water station, do not run by and say no. Take that water bottle and make the most of the help that other people offer. And the other last thing is make sure that you are in touch with other caregivers. If you're in a room with other people right now, look around and see that there are so many caregivers in the same situation as you or something similar, and we all need to support each other. It's crucial.
Great. Those are, I think, some wonderful tips. Um, let's go on to question 3.
My care receiver doesn't want any help and refuses any suggestions I make. I help him because he needs it, not because I want to take over his life. What should I do to make him stop being so angry at me and cooperate a little more?
Well, we've heard this a lot, and we've lived this as well. So, a little story about my mom, whose picture I just showed a little while ago. My mom was a real powerhouse of a lady. She was someone who grew up poor, worked really hard in her life, got a really good education, excelled at school, got a good job, and actually ran businesses. And she was also a community leader. She was a leader of the head of the Parent Teacher Association while I was in grade school, and she was the head of her condominium board for years and years. So when it came time for my mom, as she got older, to receive care because she was physically frail and also having difficulty with some of her thinking skills, she didn't like the idea of receiving care. It really made her feel disempowered. It made her feel like she was losing her sense of self. And unfortunately, what she did was she fought me. In particular, she fought Julie too, but she especially fought me.
Mostly him.
Yeah. And she made caregiving much harder for us. So there wasn't anything I could suggest to my mom that she would agree to, at least initially. And so it became a little bit of a power struggle through the 7 years. So we learned some of the lessons on this slide here the hard way, because when my mom would sort of push me away as much as she could, I would get frustrated and sometimes I would get angry, and that didn't help matters at all. So it's very important in a situation like this to really keep in mind that when the care receiver is resisting care, it's because they are trying to maintain their identity as a capable adult, that accepting help feels disempowering, it feels shaming. And so if we can, as caregivers, maintain that sense of empathy for them, that they're really having a tough time, not just with the deficits that they're experiencing, but with the loss of face that they're experiencing, that empathy will help us better connect with them. And then when we offer help or make suggestions, we're going to do it as gently as we possibly can. And that means a lot of times when our suggestions are going to be rejected and maybe rejected forcefully, we can't take it personally. We have to come back again and maybe suggest it again in a different way, but essentially keep trying to provide the help that our loved ones need. The other piece of this that's really important is we don't want them to feel, the person who's on the receiving end of care, that they have no way of helping us. That one way that Julie got helped my mother, and maybe you want to tell that story, Julie.
When Barry's mom was filling her pill box wrong after a while, she had dementia. She was putting all the pink pills in one box and the yellow pills in another rather than the morning and the evening pills properly. I asked her if I could do it, but the way I asked her, because she had already told Barry no, I asked her by saying, I want to make sure you're going to be okay. It's really important to me, and I'm having anxiety about the pill box, and it would mean a lot to me if you would let me do this for you. And when I asked her permission to let me do it for her so that she could kind of give me this gift and reduce my anxiety, it was easier for her to sort of save face and say, okay, Julie, you can do it.
Yeah. And so when my mom felt like she was doing Julie a favor, then she would agree. But if she felt like she was just on the receiving end of care, she would almost, automatically say no.
She would push back. It's a physics problem. The harder you push, the harder you get pushed back. So that doesn't really work very well most of the time.
Right. And the last thing I'm going to say here is that as hard as we may try to be gentle, as hard as we may try to really be understanding, the person who we're providing care is still may be upset, and they may take that upset out on us by being angry at us for trying to help them. And that's a feels like a kick in the teeth sometimes, where you're bending over backwards for somebody, that you're making sacrifices on their behalf, and rather than being grateful, they are resentful. And but yet that may be the reality for some people for whom receiving care just doesn't feel good.
And I think one way to cope with that as a caregiver so that you don't feel really angry and stressed is make every effort to try to put yourself in your care receiver's shoes. Think about where they come from, what's important to them, what losses they've had, what struggles they've had, and really try to be compassionate so that when they get angry at you, it's not really at you. It's really that they're losing so much. It helps to keep that in the back of your mind and sometimes in the front of your mind because it makes it easier to come up with ways to work with them rather than to try to push them into doing something that they'll resist.
Great. I think that's excellent advice. By the way, I'm seeing really wonderful comments in the chat, and I mean, unfortunately, we can't respond to them now, but we'll
Hopefully we
hopefully
will.
respond to them after our presentation's done. But I mean, people have some great ideas. I hope everybody who's online is able to read them. So here's the next question, and I'm going to read this for Julie. I hear I'm supposed to have a caregiving team and make a caregiving plan, but my siblings don't want to be part of any team that I'm leading. How do I get them to stop criticizing me and instead do something useful?
We have heard that question in one form or another so often. It's really important. And one of the biggest stressors for caregivers is often their adult siblings. So it's not at all uncommon for this to be an issue. And there's really two types of challenges. The siblings who don't help, who just don't want to help. You might ask them to help and they're too busy, they have excuses, they don't show up when they say they will. And then there are those who want to control the caregiving plan, even though you're the one on the ground doing it. You're the primary caregiver. Both of those challenges are really tough. We offer a sort of overarching three-part plan for caregivers who are struggling with siblings or other family members. It doesn't just have to be siblings who either won't step up or who want to control from a distance. If possible, meet as a group, whether it's over Zoom or even text, or, I mean, if it's really contentious, then you really maybe would need to ask a facilitator to help you. There are people that will help you meet as a family to get on the same page. So the important things are that everyone in the family knows what the care receiver's condition is, what their needs are, what the likely, future of their illness is going to look like, and what those increasing needs look like. So the idea, once you get everyone together somehow, it could even just be a text chain that you share doctors' results on. Create a caregiving plan. Try to include everyone, even though it's always going to be unequal. It may even feel unfair, and the roles will be different. In my family, my father was in New York, and I have one brother who lives in California, another brother who was in New York, but almost an hour away, a sister in New Jersey, and I'm in Pennsylvania. And so when my mother passed away, it was a crisis. So we got together, we came up with a way to communicate. We used email, but we also used text. And anyone who took my dad to the doctor reported on it. And even though we didn't always agree, we made it work. So come up with a way, once you create that plan for different roles. My younger brother in California, he couldn't be there to take my dad to the doctor, but he could fly in for a weekend and give everybody else a little bit of respite. And, so we came up with ways for everyone to have a role. It's super important, even if that role is tiny. Somebody does the bills, somebody calls the pharmacy to make sure the medications are in, little things, just so that they have a role. It's extremely important. And then the last piece of our 3-part plan is that you meet again. Needs change, people's availability changes, so you update the plan to fit the circumstances that everybody is in. The most important thing here is the communication among the family members or the people who are participating in care is so important. If you don't communicate because you're annoyed with someone, or they've let you down, or they've done something you don't like, that will not work itself out. It will get worse. So the goal is communicate no matter what. It's super important. And by the way, if a sibling, for example, doesn't want to participate, you've got this. You're the caregiver. You just let me know what's going on. You might say to them, I understand that, you want me to take care of everything, but I would like you to participate. And one day when, let's say, mom or dad has passed away, I will remember this, and so will you. We can either make our relationship better, or maybe it will get worse if you don't step up. You don't want to make it a threat. You just want to sort of reflect on, if we don't share this at all, it's going to feel bad later.
I mean, along those lines, we've seen sibling groups caring for parents where after the parent dies, the siblings who were able to work together in a respectful way and come to a maybe greater appreciation for one another than they've ever had, their relationships with one another are strengthened forever after. They become closer than they've ever been. And then the converse is true. When there's communication is bad, when there's been conflict, when there's been a lack of respect among siblings, then those relationships are harmed forever after. And so we always say to sibling groups in particular, you have the choice here of making your relation. It's not just about your parent, it's about how you relate to one another. You have the choice here of making your relationship stronger or weaker through how you interact with one another and the kind of respect and understanding and concern you show toward one another.
Yeah. Will siblings care for each other, or will they neglect that? And it has a lasting impact.
I think everything we do in caregiving has a lasting impact, as Maria mentioned, just the kind of impact that we can have and the happiness that can bring. Unfortunately, sometimes our impact can be negative if we're lashing out at people we disagree with. So, on to the next question.
I feel trapped and like I want to escape. Does this mean I'm a bad person, or that I don't love the person I'm caring for? And this is a really common question.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's all too normal to feel trapped. And so there's some research that goes along with this. So there's been a fair body of research that have found that caregivers who feel like they had no choice over caregiving have a harder time coping with it. Because if you feel like this responsibility was thrust upon you, then no one else will do it unless you step up and do it.
And then you are trapped.
Yeah, then exactly, you are trapped. And that when people feel trapped, they often feel resentful about being trapped. And that it just makes the whole caregiving enterprise more difficult. So when people feel trapped, sometimes they feel guilty about feeling trapped, but because this is a normal feeling, there is no need to feel guilt. Sometimes people feel guilty because they think about how do I get out of this trap? They think about escaping. And one way they think about escaping is they think about when that day comes when the person they're caring for dies. And then they think to themselves, oh my, how could I, what kind of person am I?
Am I wishing them dead?
Am I wishing them dead? Exactly. But we're here to tell you that almost every caregiver has thoughts about the death of their care receiver, and they think toward the day when they won't have to be a caregiver anymore. And so there's no need to feel guilty about having this thought either. It doesn't mean that you're wishing your loved one death. It basically means that caregiving is hard and you would like to be relieved of it at some point.
And it's just a normal human thought. We have lots of thoughts, and it's okay to have a thought, and it doesn't mean a wish. It's two very different things.
Correct. And the most important thing we have here on the slide is this next line. You can love your care receiver and you can hate caregiving. That is absolutely allowed. It's absolutely normal. You don't have to feel guilty about it. There's lots of dirty tasks, dirty work that goes along with caregiving, things that are not especially pleasant to do, getting someone dressed, feeding somebody, sitting in doctor's offices for hours at a time.
Watching them suffer, watching them decline, that is a hard thing to do, very painful.
Yeah. So the caregiving tasks may not be something you would choose to do, even though you love the person you're caring for and really want to care for them. And so that's not a conflict. That's not a contradiction. It really is a normal state. And so what we will also just say with this is that if you're feeling incredibly trapped, then you feel just like you're getting up every day with a sense of dread, like, oh my, I can't handle this anymore. How am I going to push myself through the day? Then that's really a sign that it's time to get more care, that it's time maybe to change the caregiving plan, bring in some more support services, get in, help, in some way enlist other family members to step up if you can. I went through this pretty early on, caring for my mother and stepfather. I thought originally I had to do it all. And as I mentioned, my mom was not always happy about receiving care, so she was pretty resistant to whatever I tried to do. And I got to the place where I just felt that every day was just a kind of a dreadful experience. And thankfully, Julie and other people said to me, "You really need to change up the caregiving plan," and that's what we did. We hired home health aides. We brought in other support services so that I didn't feel like I had to do all the care myself. But it was only because I felt trapped and I felt that sense of dread that it brought me to that realization.
And a part of what was going on with Barry and his mom was that he wanted to be the perfect caregiver. So he was running over to her place every time she had an issue, small or large. He was staying there too long. He was over functioning in his efforts to care for her. Maybe so as not to feel guilty about whatever trapped feeling he had. I don't know. That's on you. But I think one of the ways we can feel trapped, even if we're choosing caregiving, even if it's our mission, is that we can overfunction and not recognize when we need to bring in other people, whether it's siblings, friends, neighbors, paid caregivers, whatever support services the community and community organizations can offer. It's really important to recognize when those things are needed, because those are the things that sustain us in our caregiving mission. And if we don't let those things happen, just like with Barry, it took him a while, there was dread and resentment and just big feelings that didn't need to be there, because the caregiving mission was still all he wanted to do. It's just that if you don't get the support you need, you can get yourself in some trouble.
Yeah. So, as you can hear, I may be a psychologist, but I struggle as a caregiver, particularly, and I struggle with a lot of guilt.
We learned a lot from our caregiving experience, even though we thought we knew a lot before that.
Exactly. All right. I think we have one more question, which I'm going to pose to Julie, and then we're going to open it up for your questions. So if you think about it, if you have something that we haven't touched on so far, which you really is a pressing issue for you, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm then going to ask Ron or Carol to maybe identify some questions to pose to us, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yeah.
But here's our last one, and I'm going to pose this to Julie. Once caregiving is over, how do I bounce back? I just want to go back to the life I used to have. Is that possible?
So our last chapter in our book is on this topic, and I think a lot of people don't think about it. It's like they're so engrossed in the caregiving that they don't think, well, what will it be like after? How will I manage it? And then they get to that point and they feel a little bit lost. So caregiving changes people. Um, it really does. It changed us. It gives you a feeling. I'm sure many of you will find this something that you can resonate with. It's maybe one of the most important things you'll do in your life, whether you're caring for an aging parent or a spouse or a child with special needs. It changes how you think about yourself, how you think about life. It changes so much that a lot of times we don't even know how we're changing. Maybe you start taking care of a aging parent or a spouse and you realize your friends aren't there to support you and that maybe they're not the friends that you really should have. And maybe you meet people who are also caregivers who understand what you're going through and they become the people that you want to connect with after it's all over with. Maybe you've had to step back from your career and here you are afterward thinking, well, what do I do now? Maybe I've learned so much from caregiving, kind of like we did. I want to give back. I want to do something that I can help other people with the things that I struggled with in caregiving. So we've seen a lot of former caregivers who go into being hospice volunteers or they caregive for other family members. We call them serial caregivers. Or they coach other people or they help their friends who are caregivers in ways that maybe they didn't get the help they needed because their friends didn't know what a caregiver really needs. So I think you will see if when you get to that point that things will feel very different and you need to give yourself time to grieve the person who has passed away, but also grieve the time that you spent caring for them, that there are a lot of things you didn't do because you did that. And grieve just the whole situation. Maybe you lost friends along the way, or a sibling didn't step up and you don't feel the same way about them, and there's grief around that. So after the caregiving is over, we're really clear with people. They need to take time to feel that grief, to process it before they think about the next thing, which is, what do I do now? And then they need to give themselves enough time to figure out what will be meaningful for them. Because the fact is, caregiving is so meaningful that when it comes to an end, people are often feeling a little bit like, what can I do that will be that meaningful?
Yeah, I'm just going to add that uh, there's research that suggests that when 5 years after people stop caregiving, when they're asked if they could go back in time and kind of reflect on what it was like, being a caregiver, whether they would do it again, the vast majority of former caregivers will say yes. Caregiving was hard. Sometimes it was very hard, but they would do it again because they felt like they did the right thing and they made a difference in the life of their family. And they feel like it was one of the most important things they had ever done in their lives. And that there's not too many things we do in life that 5 years later we can say that about, but caregiving is one of them.
Absolutely, which reminds me that there are some caregivers who beat themselves up after they're done because that's just who they are and feel like I could have done this better, I could have done that better. Why wasn't I more patient, Maybe I should have spent more quality time with my care receiver. You know, it's really hard to be a caregiver, and those things may even be true. And if you are currently a caregiver, those are things you want to think about. But when it's over, really don't beat yourself up. It's hard. You need to pat yourself on the back and say, I did a very hard thing, and sometimes for a very long time. And I did the best I could at the time. It's easy to look back and sort of Monday morning quarterback. It's not a good thing to do. It's way better to say, I did what I could. I did my best. I learned a lot along the way. Maybe I can take that someplace meaningful at this point.
Yeah. So
Well, that was
those are our,
perfect.
yeah, those are our 6 questions. I'm going to turn it over to you, Ron, in 1 second.
Well, we've got a million questions we're going to
Oh,
throw your
good.
way.
Good. Yeah. So
And
you could, let me, I'll just
One
want
last
one
thought.
last thing. I just want to say, we always talk about caregiving being a journey, and it's a journey in unfamiliar territory oftentimes. And that, we love this line from Tolkien from the Lord of the Rings: not all those who wander are lost. And even when you feel lost, there are many folks, people at the Wellmet Chapel Foundation and elsewhere, who can provide some guideposts along the way. And it's the journey that's the meaningful part of this, where you find yourself along the way. And we'll just say the AARP Caregiver Answer book is where a lot of this material we talk about today is coming from. We have these 2 other books, which Ron mentioned earlier, but I will take this down now and turn it back over to Ron.
thank you. That was beautiful. And I learned a lot. I really, really appreciate your wisdom, your guidance, and Barry, your willingness to open yourself up. That's perfect. Now, those of you who are feeling some questions, put them into the Q&A, and Daryl Greer will read those questions to both Julia and Barry. And Daryl, let them fly.
Awesome. Yes, we've had several questions. One of them at the very top, which is, how do you get patients to help them change their clothes, bathe, and do other personal tasks?
So that generally sounds like somebody who is suffering from dementia, and they may have confusion. So I guess the first piece of advice I would offer is, you don't want to maybe hold them to the same standards of hygiene that you might have before they had dementia. If they showered every day, you don't expect them to shower every day now.
Once a week is lucky for some people,
Right. So you want to avoid a daily battle. Secondly, sometimes you may not be the best person to convince your loved one to take a shower or to change their clothes. Sometimes they'll be more cooperative with someone who's not so familiar to them, such as a home health aide who comes in, especially one who has experience working with people with dementia, and who can be cajoling in a way, and that person won't be as resistant. Third, there are times when the person is just resistant no matter what, and you have to just allow them for as much as possible to have their own self-determination, even in their confused state. But prior to that, you want to try to encourage them. You want to use what other resources exist, including other people.
And if they are a person with dementia, which, like Barry said, it sounds like it, you want to be as creative as you can. So if humor helps, if making it a game helps, if saying something like, I'm gonna, put on my clothes, you can pretend like now you do it. Anything that can kind of shake up the mindset that they're in. The thing about people as they're progressing through dementia is that oftentimes they reflect your emotion. So if you're stressed and agitated, they will be stressed and agitated. If you can keep it light, keep it humorous, give them a smile, tell them, you want them to look beautiful, maybe you can cajole them. And then I just want to add, sometimes nothing works, and it's okay. Your goal is not perfection. Your goal is to keep them as safe and healthy as you can. It is not, you can't be a superhero. So sometimes, no matter what you do, that day they're not getting a shower and they're going to stay in their pajamas, and you just try to make the most of it.
Great. Those are great responses. We have several other questions that have popped up into the actual Q&A section. And one of them is regarding family dynamics. The viewers basically has a mother who's recently been placed into an assisted living facility. The mother used to live with them for 2 years. But during this time, the aunt of the viewer is very negative. And this is the first time that she's seeing the negativity, and it's affected the mother to where the mother senses the hostility and doesn't want to leave her side. Any thoughts for that?
And let me just make sure I understand the question, Daryl, that the patient in this scenario is the mother, and the aunt is the mother's sister, or we don't know that relationship, but the another family member is being very negative and affecting the mother. Is that the question?
Correct, correct. The aunt is just negative towards the mother. So the whole question seems to be around family dynamics, how to manage these tough relationships.
Okay. I'll give my thought, and I know Julie will give hers. So uh, we are allowed to set limits with other family members, and setting limits with other family members is not to, come down on them like a ton of bricks, but it's basically to say to the aunt, um, the way you interact with mom has a big impact on her, and you have certain ideas about things and you have certain feelings, and those ideas and feelings are important. You can share them with me, but right now they're having a negative impact on mom, and consequently I would like you to not share with mom in that regard. And if you're unable to do that, then we may have to limit your ability to meet with mom, because you're a very powerful person, Aunt. You have a strong personality, and we just have to take into account that mom is in a much more vulnerable state now, and some of the things that you might have said to her in the past, maybe she can't handle as well now. So please regulate yourself better, or we'll have to unfortunately take some steps to protect mom.
As a primary caregiver, your goal is to keep mom safe, hopefully peaceful. And so if the aunt is interfering, yes, you can set some limits, some boundaries in whatever way you can, and you can talk to the people at the assisted living to make it clear that the aunt actually is having a negative impact on mom. But I would also talk to the aunt. She may not even realize that this is happening. And if she does, that's even worse. But if she doesn't, or either way, you talk to her respectfully, you try to give her the dignity she's entitled to, you say to her, I know you care about mom. I care about mom. I want mom to have the best situation she can have. Can we work together on this? Can you support what I'm doing? Because it's really important and it would mean a lot to me. So you try to work out, in the most adult kind way you can, at least to start out.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
see that, I see that Cheryl put something in the chat that she asked this question, and I would say to you, Cheryl, you know, not all help is helpful. We're giving some ideas. Your aunt may just be a very, very difficult person.
Same.
But I would say that the fact that they're residents at the same assisted living facility doesn't mean you can't have this conversation with her. You still have this conversation with her. And as Julie pointed out, you're making the aunt aware of the impact that she's having on the mother. And then if need be, you talk with the administrators
Right.
at the facility to perhaps ensure that the aunt and the mother have a little bit more separation from one another, because you can't be there to protect mom. Maybe the facility has to protect mom.
Great. Thank you so much. We still have other questions. I have a question regarding a caregiver who's providing care to a disabled veterans with Parkinson's.
Ooh.
Everything is falling on her shoulders, and she's just wondering what is it, what any suggestions she can do. He's not open to going to respite, and she feels like that she's now no longer a wife, but becoming more like a maid or a servant.
Want to try? Go first.
Yeah, that's a really tough position. Um, and it's spousal caregiving is really challenging. And for the reason you just said, that you can stop feeling like a wife and you can feel like just a caregiver, almost like a hired caregiver. The goal, and I don't know how capable that your husband is, but the goal is to get him to take care of you too. It may be minor ways, but if there are things he can do, even with Parkinson's, have him do that. If he can empty the dishwasher, if he can't even physically do anything, then have him listen to you about and talk to him about what you're feeling. Find, it might take some creativity, but find some ways to get him to be a caregiver for you too, so that you balance it a little bit better and he doesn't feel so diminished. It's tough to be in his position. So you want to be compassionate. And if it's more care than you are capable of doing, or you feel like it's too much, then please look at the resources around you and in your community and from this conference and find some support. I know there's support out there for you. Even if you won't go to respite, bring in some support.
Yeah. And what I would add to that, we talked earlier about how your responsibility is not to do all the care, provide all the care yourself. Your responsibility is to ensure the well-being of the person you're caring for. And I think that holds especially true for spousal caregivers. So if you're a spouse and you've given your wedding vows in sickness and health, you may feel like a special responsibility to do it all. But the fact is, particularly for someone in the latter stages of Parkinson's disease, which is a very, very difficult disease in its latter stages, trying to do it all is really too much for any one person. And respite is very helpful, but so are a lot of other support services, bringing other folks in to provide care, considering using an adult day program, a medical day program. These are all very helpful things. As a spouse, you are not required to do it all. Other people may say that because you're the wife, you got to do it all. They're not right.
And by the way, if he disagrees that it's okay to bring people in, just like he disagrees with going to respite, you need to say to him, I can't keep doing this myself. I need help. You can help me by letting me bring in a little bit of help. There are services that we can get. I need them. So you have to be really clear about what your needs are and how he can help you meet your needs too.
Thank you. And we still have additional questions.
Let's go for it, Daryl. Keep going.
Got good. Let's try and get through all of them. What question here is, what are some support services for aggressive patients? Or what else can be done for them? Most of the local care facilities reject these types of patients.
Okay. Well, so that's a very complicated question. So let me give you my best answer. So why is somebody aggressive? And do they have dementia? And oftentimes when we're talking about someone who's aggressive, we're thinking about someone who has chronic mental illness, like schizophrenia, or they have dementia. So let's deal with the latter situation. Someone who's aggressive, who has dementia, the most important thing we're going to do is to try to help them feel safer, more secure, because oftentimes the aggression occurs in response to feeling unsafe because they're confused about what's going on around them, and they respond to their confusion with a feeling of being in danger, and then they become aggressive to take care of themselves. So the greater the least stimulating environment, kind of a low stimulation environment, not too much noise, not too many people, very calm, very predictable schedule. All those ways of making the day a little calmer helps people feel safer, and therefore they're less aggressive. Secondly, just even if people are aggressive, even with all that, if people are still aggressive, then we may have to try other behavioral strategies for decreasing their aggression. Like we can talk in a very calm voice to them. We can try to help de-escalate them by talking very calmly in a very soothing voice. And thirdly, I was going to say that if all else fails and the aggression becomes really unbearable, then there are medications that we use to help people with aggression. Those medications have some significant risks, and they're medications, typically a class called atypical antipsychotics, that have some significant risks. Those risks and benefits need to be discussed with a medical professional before you would consider using them. What I would say is that not with my mom, but with my aunt, who had very aggressive behavior. She would hit other people. She would bite other people. She got thrown out of more than one facility as a result of her hostile and violent behavior towards other people. A little bit of an atypical antipsychotic helped her be more in control of herself and be less aggressive, and then enabled her to continue remaining in a facility. So there are benefits, there are also risks. Those have to be discussed with a medical professional.
Who would provide the meds anyway, so.
Yes.
But this is a really challenging situation for sure.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is no caregiver ought to be put themselves in a position where they're in danger of being hurt by an aggressive patient, aggressive family member. And that if it comes to that, then simply the caregiving plan needs to really be significantly revised to make sure that no one gets hurt, that the caregiver doesn't get hurt, and by the same token, the care receiver doesn't get hurt.
Right. We have two questions regarding financing or finances. And one of them is, what about those who have no support or cannot afford professional help? And another question is, how can caregivers manage expenses related to caregiving, especially with limited income?
Okay.
And let's make these the last questions.
Got it, Ron. So, and we'll wrap it up pretty quickly. What I would recommend is talking with the good folks at WellMed, or talking with the care managers at your local area agency on aging, who could do a evaluation of your care receiver to see whether they meet the income eligibility for financial supports, for help. There are lots of ways for addressing the financial challenges of caregiving, including getting paid as a caregiver. And the folks at WellMed and other agencies will be able to provide the information for that. Because no caregiver should find that they have to do it all and become destitute in the process. That should never happen. And we do have governmental supports as well as many churches and many communities have supports to help people in these positions. No caregiver should become completely impoverished because of caregiving.
Thank you.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it. So you guys do a great job, and I just have to ask, having interviewed the two of you over time on Caregiver SOS on Air, what do you talk about over dinner? Do you leave the professional side away and just be husband and wife?
We talk about our granddaughter, of course.
Yeah, we're off duty sometimes.
Yeah.
Just occasionally we're off duty.
We have to do something too.
Well, thank you both. You've been really super, and appreciate your time. We'll talk again, and hope to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Good luck with all the caregiving you're doing. Be kind to yourselves.
Barry and Julia, thank you so much. Now I want to take a moment and introduce our sponsor, Veranda Rehab and Healthcare. As they say, let's go to the tape.
Welcome to the Veranda Rehabilitation and Healthcare, a skilled nursing facility in Harlingen, Texas. We are recognized in our community for our outstanding, compassionate, and professional nursing care. At Veranda Rehabilitation and Healthcare, we'll work with you, your family, and your healthcare provider to create the most comprehensive and effective care and treatment plan possible, designed to improve and enhance your health and comfort from the beginning of your visit until it's time to return home. You'll find our rehab gym to be an active place with a talented and focused staff. Once our guests are on the road to recovery, our expert therapy team will customize and implement a program tailored to each guest's specific therapeutic needs. Trust your loved one's healthcare to Veranda Rehabilitation and Healthcare. Please feel free to call us at 956-423-4676 4959 or stop by and experience a personalized tour.
Well, thank you so much, Rhonda. We really appreciate it. And now we have something special for those of you who are watching us, no matter where you are. And this is a chance to get a little exercise, to do a little stretching. And from the Trevino Lopez Senior Center, we'll have a chance to hear from Richard Lozano and Chris Mata. And take it away.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Richard Lozano, fitness advisor here at the WellMed Charitable Foundation. I'm here at the Alicia Trevino Lopez Senior Center.
Hey guys, my name is Chris. I am the building coordinator here at the Lopez Center.
It's nice to be with y'all virtually at the WellMed Charitable Foundation Caregivers Summit. We're going to go over some real easy, breezy exercises that we can get going to keep our muscles active and limber throughout our summit. So without further ado, we're going to get started, Chris. We're going to get started with some nice and easy shoulder rolls. So we're going to sit nice and tall in our chair. We're going to be about middle of the chair, feet nice and flat on the floor, and we're going to roll our shoulders back nice and easy. Just like that. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nice and easy. We're going to keep on sitting nice and tall. We're going to activate our upper back muscles, our rhomboids, our traps, our posterior shoulders. We're going to bring our arms down to the side. Our palms want to be facing towards our legs. So sit nice and tall, and we're going to lift our hands up, forward, and come above our head and squeeze them between the shoulder blades. 1. These are called shoulder scaptions. They work your posture muscles, your shoulders, the middle of your shoulders, and the front of your shoulders. 2. Good work, good work. 3. You really want to squeeze in between the shoulder blades at the top of the movement. It's almost like you're doing a Y with your arms. 4. And most importantly, keep breathing nice and easy. 5. 6. 7. You feel a good squeeze in between your shoulders, Chris?
Yes, sir.
8. 2 more. Y'all are doing great. 9. 10. Not too bad, not too bad at all. So we're going to keep on going. We're going to make our way down from our upper shoulders all the way down to our posterior chain, our hamstrings, our calves. So with our next movement, we're going to sit nice and tall. Real easy in the middle of the chair, keeping good posture. We are going to go into some middle back twist, thoracic twist, whatever you want to call it. This is a stretch aiming for the middle of our spine. So we're going to sit nice and tall, and we're going to twist one way, put our hand on our leg, and then we're going to twist nice and easy the other way. Good work, good work. There we go. And let's begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, couple more, 9, good work, and keep breathing, y'all, 10. So you should want to be feeling that right in the middle of that back. We are going to keep on going and focusing on our back, starting from upper to lower. We're going to focus on the lower part of our back where our lumbar spine is, right above our hips, right above our glute muscles. So we're going to have our feet nice and flat in front of us on the floor. We're going to sit nice and tall. What we're going to do is a child's pose movement. We're going to work our way down to our toes. And then we're going to sit up nice and tall. Bring the shoulders back. Focus on good posture at the top of the movement. 1. We are going to be doing 2. Nice, easy 10 child's pose movements. Up. 3. We might be stretching that lower back, but that doesn't mean we can't focus on proper hip hinge. 4. While coming up and sitting up nice and tall with good posture. 5. 6. Good work, y'all. We got 4 more. Keep going. 7, and keep breathing nice and easy. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 8, 9, final one, y'all. 10. So we're doing real great. We're doing awesome. We are going to keep on going a little bit, but I want to activate our core muscles. So to do that, we are going to be doing a movement called a dead bug. What is a dead bug, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you did, because I'm about to show you. So we're going to sit nice and tall. Our arms are going to be nice and easy out in front of us. We're going to move one arm up. We're going to move one leg, straighten it out. So, but we're going to be doing opposite legs and arms. So when you use your right side, you're going to be using your left leg. Nice and easy like that. Then you're going to come down, and then you're going to do the left side and the opposite leg. There we go, y'all. Keep a nice tight core and find a good rhythm. 2, 3, and keep breathing. 4, 5, 6, there we go, Chris, doing great. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, give me one more. 12. So we're going to keep on sitting nice and tall. We're getting some good movements in. I'm going to go into a standing position. My friend Chris here is going to stay seated. You can do this next movement standing, seated, whatever you like, whatever you feel the most comfortable with. I'm going to move my chair up just a little bit. We're going to be doing some hamstring walks. What a hamstring walk is, we're going to have our foot out in front of us, our toes facing up the sky. This is very, very important. Make sure our toes are facing up and they're not just flat on the floor like this. You're going to get a little bit extra of a better stretch. So sit nice and tall, stand nice and tall with good posture, and start working our way down our calf. And come all the way back up. 1. We're going to be doing 8 per leg. 2. As you can see, we're coming up with good posture. We're coming up with nice tall shoulders. 3. 4. 2. I feel that stretch going all the way down my thigh, all the way down my hamstring. 5. You feel it, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Whew. 6. 7. Give me one more. These are just great exercises. 8. To make sure our lower back stays nice and limber while we are going to be sitting for a little while. So now we're going to swap legs, stand nice and tall, and we're going to be using the other side. 3, 2, and go. 1. If you need to hold on to the chair for a little bit of extra balance, a little bit of extra stability. 2. Be my guest if you need to take a seat while doing this. 3. Be my guest. Whatever you feel the best stretch. 4. And you feel like you get the best exercise out of. 5. It's all about what you can do. 6. And the best that you can do it. That's all we ask. 7. Give me one more. 8. Go work, Chris. We just want to thank y'all real quick. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. Thank y'all so much for being here at the WellMed Charitable Foundation Caregiver Summit. We hope y'all have a great day. We hope y'all stay safe. And most importantly, please, please, please drink some water. Y'all take care.
That was very cool. Richard and Chris, Alicia Trevino Lopez Senior Center. And boy, that's a video we should all have at home and watch every day and go through that. Now, as you see on the screen, it is time for a break, and we're going to take a very quick break. If you could disappear for about, well, maybe 14 minutes or so, and we will start again. Thank you very much. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be live. And if you want to sit around and just watch a blank screen, go for it. everybody about ready to get back in your chairs and we can begin. We're going to give you a 5-minute warning. We'll start again at 11:35. So wrap up whatever you're doing and we'll talk to you all soon. All right, we are ready to begin again, and I appreciate all of you getting back into your seats, no matter where you are, and thank you for that. Jose Hernandez has been a dedicated caregiver to his mother-in-law for the past 5 years. In June 2024, he joined the Caregiver SOS program led by caregiver specialist Dora Moody to support his wife and strengthen their ability to cope with caregiving responsibilities. As you'll see in this special video, Jose believes that Caregiver SOS has provided them with invaluable and educational tools to better care for a loved one living with dementia. This is his story.
Hello, my name is Jose Hernandez, and I take care of my mother-in-law. She's been diagnosed with dementia at approximately age 93. I find out about this program, the Caregivers program, SOS, because my wife brought me to one of the meetings. I remember Ms. Story asking me if I was a caregiver, and my answer was, no, I'm not a caregiver. For my surprise, yes, I am a caregiver. I was having a lot of issues with my wife, and my wife was having a lot of issues with me, and we thought that we were the cause of the issues. Coming to find out after taking this Caregivers SOS program, that the root of the situation was my mother-in-law. Dealing with dementia was one of the programs that helped my wife and I into it. When we have questions that without the book, there's maybe obvious, but we don't understand. That book has helped me deal with those issues from time to time, and it had also helped my wife. And now I put a special attention to my mother-in-law when she goes through the lapses of dementia. I know the support groups help us open up. It's not a shame, but we shouldn't feel guilty about it. We share the same feelings. We feel sad. We feel frustrated. We think that it's the end of the world. When we think that we're alone, we think there's no help. And yes, there is help. There is help out there. We're not the only ones. This group made me realize that there's many of us in that situation. I want to thank the Caregivers SOS for providing me help that I didn't have before, for understanding the situation with my mother-in-law. And it helped me with my marriage. And thanks to the support, and I know that I'm not alone anymore, and the institutions are there for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate your willingness to share. Our next presenter is someone like both Barry Jacobs and Julia Mayer we've had as a guest on Caregiver SOS on air. She did a fabulous job. Deidre Edwards, RN, brings her wealth of experience as an educator, speaker, and author to empower others in personal health, family caregiving, and surviving life transitions. Using a conversational approach filled with practical examples and useful tools, Deidre aims to foster confidence and skill development for success in all of her audiences. She's the author of several books, including Toolkit for Caregivers, and most recently, Toolkit for Caregiver Emotions. Her website, deidreedwards.com, will lead you to her books, weekly blog, and other resources. You may also reach her at Deidre at deidreedwards.com. Please welcome our friend and next presenter, Deidre Edwards.
Thank you so much, Barry. It is a thrill to be here and to share with everyone on this summit. Especially, I want to thank WellMed Charitable Foundation and the area agencies on aging. Thank you for all the wonderful work that you do for caregivers every day. Let me get my slides up here, and there we go. I hope that looks all right to everyone.
Looks great. Thank you.
I have to say that the day I received the invitation from WellMed Charitable Foundation to be a speaker today, to share ideas, it was a humbling moment because in addition to being so happy, caregivers just are the most amazing people on the planet. And I want to share things with caregivers that will lift them up even on those days when the last thing they feel like is amazing, but you are amazing every day. See, you already have the heart of a caregiver because of that loving bond you have with someone. But perhaps you've discovered, like I did, that pouring yourself out 100% the way we do is just leaving us spent at the end of the day. But don't worry. We are going to help you with our caregiver trifecta for surviving and thriving. Now, trifecta, that is an interesting word dating back to the ancient days of Rome when they did chariot races, 3 laps around the track. Well, I think you would agree that caregivers are doing a whole lot more than just 3 laps around the track. I felt like a hamster stuck in a wheel going around and around and around. So today, our trifecta is composed of 3 parts: prioritizing yourself, your safety and welfare, and your daily self-care techniques. Secondly, accepting help, and becoming a receiver of help. And lastly, building resilience through daily mental self-care techniques. Now, my medical professional background started when I was an activities director in long-term care. Eventually, I became a nursing home administrator for a skilled nursing facility. And then later in life, I returned to school and I became an RN, and first working in, again, skilled nursing. Ultimately, I became a health science instructor in high schools, teaching and guiding young students to discover more about potential medical careers. And all of that knowledge and experience, friends, only partially prepared me for what was to come. In the early days of caring for my husband, who was 100% bedfast and under hospice and my care for 2 years, I thought my whole focus was supposed to be on him. I mean, who was I to think about myself when I knew that he was going to spend the last of his days never leaving that hospital bed in our bedroom? Fortunately, there were some very special people along the way who helped me understand that I needed to take care of myself also. Let me put it this way. In the caregiving situation, there are 2 patients to love and care for, not just one. Those people are you, the caregiver, as the first patient, and the loved one you're caring for. Ignore the needs of the one, and the other will not be cared for. I mean, we do naturally think that our loved one should be our entire focus. And, judging from what I heard today, a lot of loved ones think they should be the entire focus too. But what's going to happen to our loved one when we collapse from neglect and we're carried away? So, it comes down to understanding that prioritizing yourself isn't selfish, it's strategic. Just like that old analogy about putting on your oxygen mask first on an airplane, we caregivers absolutely have to take care of ourselves first to make sure that we are still able to take care of our loved ones. Now, for the first part of our trifecta, prioritizing yourself, your safety, welfare, and your daily self-care techniques. Regarding these things, the first part I want to emphasize is how important it is, if it's at all possible, for you to maintain one day each week for your personal medical appointments and your personal appointments so that you know how to schedule them. You know how it is when you go to the dentist. They always ask me, they say, okay, we'll see you in 6 months. What day of the week is good for you? I think most caregivers might want to say, oh, good grief, I don't know what planet I'm going to be on in 6 months. No, I knew that Thursday, sometime between 10 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I had coverage and you could make my appointment on a Thursday. Also, it is vitally important to establish a system for your daily welfare checks. Your daily welfare checks. What on earth am I talking about? Well, what if you fell down, hit your head on the floor, and were unconscious? Who is able to find you, and who is able to then be able to call 911 for helping you? This is so vitally important. Whether you use a family member who calls you once or twice a day or a calling service, there are many, many calling services, and you can get a phone call. I think twice a day would be great. Once in the morning, once in the evening. If you don't answer, then there is a system set in place for them to check on your welfare. Because, sometimes the emergency happens to the caregiver, and it's so important to have this safety net in place. Now, some practical strategies for a more positive mindset for you at the beginning of each day, and provide some much needed resets throughout the day and help you close the day in a way that kind of sets aside the negative and accentuates the positive. And what I'm talking about are basically micro moments of self-care, things that we can do in 5 minutes or less that work their way in to what we're already doing, such as my favorite, pulling the string. Do you do this? Did you know there's an invisible string coming out the top of our heads? It's connected to our spine. Have you ever gotten out of bed in the morning kind of, ugh? I call this the trudge. Your shoulders are rounded, we're a little bent over. It's the position of fatigue and discouragement. You want some energy? You'll never get it this way. Pull that invisible string, and what happens? You'll notice your chin raises, your shoulders go back, your chest opens up. My goodness, it's easier to breathe. And, dear friends, this is the position to pull energy into your body, like you're in an accordion, and you know how you bring an accordion out to fill it with air, so that when it is pressed, it can make beautiful music. So pull that string and then wash your face first thing in the morning. Oh, unless you wake up to an emergency that needs your immediate attention, take a few minutes for yourself first, because you know that if you don't, it's probably going to be the middle of the afternoon before you finally, wash your face and comb your hair. That's no way to start the day, is it? So let's set ourselves up for success. And while you're standing at the mirror, look at yourself and say something positive about yourself, acknowledging that, you know what? You're giving your very best. It may not be perfect, but you know what? You're there. And it's just so important to be your own best cheerleader, because I know those who receive our care sometimes aren't cheerleaders for us, and sometimes our families aren't cheerleaders for us. We must be our own best cheerleader. Say something positive to yourself out loud, looking in the mirror. Yesterday was rough, but I can do this one thing at a time. I'm just going to take what I learned yesterday and do the new idea. And then throughout the day, pause just for a couple of minutes or so to look out the window or step out onto the porch. Studies have shown that it takes at least 2 minutes for a emotional, mental, nervous system reset. Remember, while you're looking out the window, you may have to pull that string again. And then, as you look out that window, identify, oh my, wouldn't this be a beautiful window to look out of? What do we see? 5 things we're seeing. I see beautiful blue sky, white fluffy clouds, that gorgeous mountain range, trees of so many different kinds, and beautiful green rolling hills. Then identify 4 things that you are physically feeling and sensing right now. Are you in the sunshine? Do you feel the sun? Maybe you feel the movement of the air upon your cheek if the window is open or if you're out on the porch. Maybe you feel your hair about your face and neck. If you're seated, you're feeling the back of the chair on your back. How about 3 things that you are hearing? Maybe you hear the sound of a bird. Maybe you hear a distant motor. Maybe there's a dog barking next door. 2 things that you are smelling right now. If the window's open or you're outside, oh boy, fresh air. That smells so good. Maybe you just put on a pot of coffee and, oh boy, that is great. I can't wait to have the first cup. 1 thing that you are tasting right now. Maybe it's the lingering minty toothpaste still in your mouth because you took care of yourself first thing that morning. But why are we doing all this? What's this about? This is called guided grounding, which gently draws our focus to thinking about something else. You can do this looking out the window or standing on the porch, but I have even done this kind of reliving an experience. When I was still teaching in high school at the end of the semester, writing down all the grades and correcting exams, I would need a break. And so I just closed my eyes and I thought of a favorite vacation spot that I went to years ago. And I went through the 5 senses just like we did. And it just provided the best reset. And then I was able to continue what I was doing. Something else that is a very handy thing to do, perhaps you've heard of it, box breathing. It's just a pattern of breathing, normally in and out, but this is where you breathe in to a count of 4. We'll do this together right now. Do this with me. Breathe into the count of 4. Hold it for a count of 4. Exhale through your nose to a count of 4. Hold it there for a count of 4. Done. Just keep doing that box breathing pattern. Very relaxing. And the wonderful thing about this, you can do it sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. I did this just the other night, trying to kind of calm myself down to get ready for a restful night's sleep. It lowered my heart rate, and it was wonderful. Something else caregivers find so handy to do, it really helped me, was an activity unrelated to caregiving that I could just pick up and do without a lot of fanfare. It was there ready for me to refer to. Whether you're talking about adult coloring books, jigsaw puzzles, crocheting, knitting, reading a chapter of a good book, playing music, listening to music. I relied a lot on adult coloring books, and I had mine open on the kitchen counter at all times, along with my pencils and markers. And I might be walking by and I'd say, hey, I've got a couple minutes, and I would just color in a little bit. It was a great reset. Again, gently guiding our thoughts to something other than caregiving. And at the end of the day, after I got my husband all set for the night and he was going to sleep, I would go back to my coloring. I might light a candle to kind of set the mood, and I just indulged in 10, 15 minutes of coloring before I went to bed. It was a great reset. Now, something else we can do in the evenings that really helps. Concentrating on gratitude. Now, I call this the secret sauce to resilience. By reframing our thinking and finding the positive moments in our day, they do study after study. They've proven that it helps to rewire our thoughts and emotions. I read another study just this week emphasizing the importance of gratitude. A gratitude journal. What do? Well, write down 3 things that you are grateful for today. Well, maybe it was the friendly smile on the delivery person's face, or that beautiful bird you saw when you were taking a moment to look out the window and reconnect. Or maybe it was a wonderful phone call from a friend. Another way that you can concentrate on gratitude and blessings is a blessings jar. This is a picture of my own blessings jar with a baggie of little square pieces of paper that I've cut out and taped it to the side so it will always be ready. And on this, what would you do? Well, you write down what person or event was a blessing to you today. Because even on bad days, there are blessings to be counted. It could be something as simple and basic as you're caring for your loved one. And you say, man, I hope there's still some cream in this tube. I don't want to have to go out to the store to get some more because I can't leave right now. And oh, there was enough cream, and that was a blessing. By training our minds to find and savor these blessings, big and small, we are taking a big step to becoming more resilient. Now, what do you do with your blessings jar or your gratitude journal? Well, around New Year's, I empty my blessings jar out onto the table, or you can just read your gratitude journal. And I randomly pick out each one and reread it, remember and savor that moment, and just re-feel the blessing that it was. And I go through the entire mound of blessings. Oh, what a transformative moment. Good grief. I have goosebumps talking about this. You know, this is one of my favorite moments in the entire year when you feel a shower of a year's worth of blessings. Being reminded of all of that makes us even more mindful that we are blessed and grateful. Now, on to the second part of our trifecta, accepting help and becoming a receiver of help. You know, as I read Facebook posts and I talk to caregivers, there is a common thread in that we often feel so alone. And yet I also see caregivers sometimes resisting receiving help from those around them. I don't know why. Is it feelings of guilt or pride or maybe fear of judgment from others because they've never been that needy in their life and now they need a lot? Or maybe it's just feeling awkward and strange, becoming the receiver of help. That's how it was for me. I was usually taking a casserole to somebody else. And now I'm getting the casserole. It really is a change. And then there's the do-it-all syndrome. You know, the wonderful, talented people who can take care of the inside of the house and the laundry and the cleaning and the cooking, and they take care of the outside of the house and all that entails. And goodness, if things break, they fix it. And they're doing all of that. And now they're still trying to do all of that and have caregiving placed on top. It's important now to understand that people do want to help. And as awkward as it may feel to be a caregiver to receive help, those around us may feel awkward in their ignorance of knowing how they could help you. And maybe they don't know when to call you, or they feel like they're going to interrupt you, at some key moment or something. I just knew that I needed something. And being a caregiver is not a time to put on a brave face and just push forward solo. Caregiving is not an enterprise to be done solo. And I want to point out that caregivers do have options other than family. We've heard today many situations where, family's not there. Maybe there aren't any left for you, or they live too far away, or there's uncomfortable communication. There are other options. Do consider your next door neighbors, your friends. How about the people in your faith-based community and in your interest groups? Why, those people you used to join to play, to go bowling or to play golf or to play bridge with, or just to those friends who walked around the block with you once a week or every evening, that you can't do that anymore because you're a caregiver, they could help you. One of those people could come by and sit with your loved one so that maybe you could do something as basic as just walking around the block, enjoying some fresh air. Or one of those people could take care of some of those things that you used to do all of while you were free to have a little time of quality time with your loved one. Or maybe you could take a nap. The more others learn of your specific circumstances, the more targeted their help can be. And we could say things like, hey, can you pick up the groceries for me on Thursday? I've ordered them, but I can't leave the house. And maybe they'll start checking in to see about doing that some more in the future. Or, hey, your child's in scouting. Could their troop come by and put a bird feeder in the backyard? My loved one and I just love to watch the birds. But then your biggest need may be just your need to talk with someone face to face. So call a friend up and invite them over for a chat. And you should do the inviting. Oh, shouldn't they be calling me? Well, again, remember, people want to help, but they feel a little awkward and they don't know if you're free or not. So call them, at least in the beginning. And remember, there is a season to everything, a time to give and a time to receive. And being a caregiver is also a time to be a care receiver from those who do support you. Don't be afraid to let them know what you need in that moment, in this season of your life. The last part of our caregivers trifecta is building resilience through daily mental self-care techniques. Resilience. You know, we talk a lot about resilience, but what is it really? Well, it has been described as a dynamic process encompassing positive adaptation within the context of significant adversity. I think caregivers can understand that. Resilience can actually be viewed as a frame of mind that is built one thought at a time every day. And I have noticed that we are now even redefining resilience because it's not just bouncing back, but it's growing stronger through the stress that we all experience. And then we become less fragile in our response to this stress and future stress. In fact, I am reading now a new word associated with resilience, anti-fragility, not being so fragile. And that's a part of what we're trying to build up within ourselves. Now, at this point, I really want to emphasize something. We are in much greater control of our emotional responses to life, to stress, than you might have previously understood. The mind is a powerful tool. Perhaps you are familiar with this old saying. Well, if you think you can, you can. Or if you think you can't, you can't. Taking that idea, I like to say, your mind believes what you tell it. Your mind believes what you tell it. And taking that truth and applying it to our daily lives will transform our self-talk. Now, our self-talk is probably the most of any conversation we hear in a day. My husband slept most of the time, and I was left there alone with him, with my thoughts. And what I was thinking, how I was saying it, and what I was, how I was feeling. What we say to ourselves and how we say things to ourselves is a learned behavior based upon what we have learned from others, what we've observed in others, and it does incorporate messages that we have heard in our youth. For example, did you hear things such as, "You can do this. I have faith in you"? Was that a common thread in your upbringing? Or maybe you heard things more like, "Oh, you shouldn't try that. It's too hard for you." Let's look at what your reaction would be. I call it knee-jerk reaction to a very common event. Bang, you just knock something off the table. What happens next? Oh, you just pick it up and put it back? Or do you berate yourself, saying something like, "Oh, come on, you are such a klutz. What a jerk. You can't do anything right"? Friends, these seemingly insignificant little messages add up over the course of a day and of a lifetime. All those jabs coming in, subtly and maybe not so subtly hurting your self-image and absolutely discouraging your spirits. That's not what caregivers need. Remember, your mind believes what you tell it. In fact, let's make this much more personal. My mind believes what I tell it. I cannot hear you. I want you to say this out loud, though, wherever you are, in a meeting room with others or at home. Let's say this out loud. My mind believes what I tell it. One more time for emphasis. My mind believes what I tell it. Woo! Oh, that does beg the question, doesn't it? What are you telling your mind each day? Are you in the middle of a constant flow of learned negative thoughts? Are you convincing yourself that you're overwhelmed? That you can't do this any longer? Or that oh, I'm defeated? When I said earlier that we need to be our own best cheerleaders, boy, I meant it. Caregivers are faced with challenges all day long. My goodness, even when a day goes well. Caregivers are left at the end of the day with the very changed reality of their circumstances that they probably never asked for. And this gets to the heart of resilience. Because bad things and stress happen to us all. It's how we internally talk about it to ourselves that colors how we are going to respond and deal with the stress that we are dealt with. Are you going to reinforce learned negative self-talk? Did you know that you can learn a new way to talk to yourself? Yes, you can learn a new way to think. I used to have students who said, "Oh, Mrs. Edwards, I can't help it. It's just the way I think." You can learn a new way to think. It's learning It's just learning. And like any learning, it takes practice, repetition, and maybe some help along the way. How about putting up some encouraging post-it notes on that mirror that you're going to look at first thing in the morning? I can do this, one thing at a time. I can do this. I am changing, learning, and growing. I know you didn't ask to change and learn and grow probably the way you are right now, but embrace it. Goodness, you're changing and learning and growing. Cheer yourself on. I choose to see blessings. I am in control of how I respond to circumstances. I have the skills to learn what is needed. I show love for myself by taking care of my mind, body, and spirit. No junk food today because I love my body. I have the power to become even stronger. I am resilient. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am no longer a caregiver. But one day, just a few months ago, I had absolutely no energy. And I had a long list of things to do. My house was a mess, and I was hosting and throwing a birthday party that night. I didn't have the energy to get out of the chair, let alone do all those things. But I knew that the energy I needed was only going to come from within me. I wasn't sure how this was all going to happen, given the way I was feeling, but I knew I had to generate that energy. So remembering that, my mind believes what I tell it, and that affirmations do help. I was searching for an energy boosting affirmation, but I was too tired to think of anything really beautiful and flowery and encouraging. I just said the shortest affirmation ever. Yes. Now, always say your affirmations out loud, because not only are you forming those ideas in your mind and then you're speaking them, but you have the double blessing now of hearing what you say. And I didn't say this with a lot of enthusiasm or strength or gusto. It was, yes. And I got out of my chair, pulled the string. I did something, and then I said out loud again, yes. And then later on, yes, yes, yes. Finally, I said, yes, and I was smiling. Boy, I was getting things done. And at the end of all my work, it was, yes, fist bump, smiling. You see, I had become a totally new me. Yes. True story. And you know what? I had enough energy at the end of the day when the party happened that I absolutely had a blast. It was a great gathering of friends. Now, I conclude all chapters of all my books with takeaway thoughts and takeaway actions. So these are our takeaway thoughts from today. Prioritizing yourself is not selfish. It's a strategy for success. And remember, there are two patients to love and care for. And there are simple things that you can do throughout the day to boost your morale. Seasons change, and it is a season to become a receiver. And while we may pride ourselves in our self-sufficiency, the balance of give and take changes. in this season of caregiving. And resilience is a state of mind. My mind believes what I tell it. And truly, our biggest tool of all is understanding the power of our minds and using that power to pave a way for our personal strength to shine and to come back stronger than before. Now, takeaway actions. If possible, establish 1 day a week for your consistent availability for your regular medical and personal appointments. Pull that string. Wash your face first. Be your own best cheerleader. Try some affirmations to start your day. And there are resets using 2 minutes or so for box breathing, guided grounding, a calming activity that you can do, and closing out the day with gratitude and blessings being remembered by you. Reach out to someone in your circle with your needs. Invite someone over for a chat. And here's an idea to boost your affirmations. You can design some positive statements by writing down 5 of your personal strengths unique to you and using them to become your own best cheerleader. I don't know, maybe you are a great organizer. Give yourself credit for that. Man, because I'm such a good organizer, I was able to organize this and that and something else today, and that just made life a lot easier. And why do we do this? Because my mind believes what I tell it. Now, the handouts you have received today reflect this presentation, and they offer opportunities for you to reflect on your next steps through the prompts that I give you. Remember, you matter too, and you are not alone. Thank you, everyone, attendees and sponsors. This QR code will lead you to my website, deidreedwards.com, and you can find out about my books and my blog and speaking engagements, and you can get free downloads that match all of my books. I would love to hear from you. You can reach me at deidreedwards.com. Thank you. I hope what I have done for you today is at least a little blessing in your life. Thank you.
Deidre, what a fabulous job. Now, if folks can put their questions into the Q&A, Daryl will sort them out and throw them at you. And I'm going to take the prerogative of being the MC to kick it off. 2 things. Deidre, first of all, the artwork in your presentation was fabulous. Fabulous.
Thank you.
The photos, the designs, unbelievably good. And that's a real talent.
In another life, I thought I was going to become an artist.
I can see it. I can see it. So here's my question. Speaking for a friend, if you are friendly with someone who is a true negative Nancy, the clouds are there is no sun, the glass is half full,
Yeah.
all of that, how can we help them?
You might find a beautiful journal to give them that can be their gratitude journal. We are capable. We don't know where people have come from, what those messages were growing up. A lot of people have a big mountain to climb over. But if we can help people find just 1, 2, 3 things that they could be grateful for that day, that is kind of a subtle way to set the mind up to look for, hey, I could write that down on my journal tonight. Maybe just say, maybe have them join you. Hey, I heard that writing in a gratitude journal is very helpful. It resets hormones. I mean, they do all these studies. It's great. Here, I got one for myself and I got one for you, and let's kind of keep up with each other how we're doing on our daily gratitude journal.
It's a great advice. And now, Daryl, you're going to throw a bunch of questions at Deidre. Take it away, Daryl.
Yeah, actually, a lot of great commentary about how this was peaceful, about how this was fantastic, and it resonated with a lot of individuals. I have one question here regarding intrusive thoughts. How do you control those? What tips do you feel individuals can have, or you?
A couple things I have seen and done throughout my life, and I have seen others do. There are therapies whereby people will wear a rubber band on their wrist, and this involves self-awareness. And then when they have that intrusive thought, they snap that rubber band. It's not a big owie, but it's a little owie. And then you actually say out loud, stop. And that can help. I have myself just said, stop. And tried to, because a lot of the adjectives that we may apply to the situation may not be true. It's called thought distortion. I mentioned this in my new book, a personal experience, and I was cleaning out of the old homestead where I had lived with my husband for 42 years and moving to a new town. And I was doing most of this by myself. I was constantly feeling overwhelmed. My daughter called me and said, "How you doing?" And I said, "I feel defeated." Well, hello, that's the wrong word. Overwhelmed, just too much to do. Yes, but defeated is a totally different situation. And I wasn't, and she called me on it. And it helped me be more mindful of how I described how I was at any given moment, even to this day.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a really good tip. But you have a few I guess teachers in the audience there to where they use that tip with their students.
Good.
I have another question. It's regarding diet. And is there a connection with diet and your personal wellness and how food can impact us?
Oh, absolutely. My first book was about wellness. We are a whole entity, and taking care of our emotions is great, but if we are hurting ourselves with our diet or lack of exercise, that is affecting the emotions and the chemistry within the body. I mean, it's a real physical thing. And we do have to look at our whole existence. And yes, I know. Caregiving, I struggled with getting enough exercise. I was sitting most of the time, while my husband was awake, and it just, it really, it was so hard. And so part of when I had coverage on Thursdays and other days, you need some little breaks throughout the week, but I always tried to incorporate exercise because just being in the outdoors changes our minds. If you've been in this, the four walls all day, just stepping outdoors, that alone is reset so much. So exercise and diet, it's all dovetailing. We can't be great in our diet and great in our exercise if what's going on up here is all messed up.
Great. Out of curiosity, there's another one too regarding mindfulness. Are there any resources that you use to help you become more present in the moments of stress or anything else?
Well, like I said in my first caregiver book, I said it took me 2 years of coloring to get my brain straight. So many pictures. But I kind of think that these side activities, coloring jigsaw puzzle, coloring was just because I have a little bit of artsy in my background. Maybe that made it so for me. But um, I found while you're getting your mind off of things, it doesn't mean that things are not processing in your head. And I felt like I was subconsciously processing things while I wasn't thinking about it. You know, of course we can talk, and those phone calls from a friend, talking you off the edge. I have one particular friend, and it seems like we're always talking each other off the edge. But leaning into those things helps to process both journaling about them. Journaling, I didn't mention that today. Journaling is crucial. I opened my Caregiver Emotions book with some snippets that I just pulled right out of my journal in the beginning to kind of set the stage of how messed up I was. Just the up and the downs. So journaling is crucial. I would say more than anything else, start journaling. Just pour it out every day. I was often a different person by the time I finished my entry because the process is very therapeutic and healing.
No, that is a great tips. You have much love in the comment section here, but as for questions, I think that's concluded, at least with questions as of now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You did a fabulous job. And for folks who want to get a hold of you, what's your recommendation?
Just go to my website, deidreedwards.com, and then there are ways to do the email through there if
Okay,
you are confused about how to spell my name.
perfect. Well, thank you so much, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Deidre. What a great job. Wow. It's time to introduce a caregiver, and her name is Monica Sampson. A proud South Texas native, she's devoted over 8 years caring for her parents. After her father's passing in 2023, Monica continued to provide loving care for her mother. Since Bertha joined Crossroads Senior Activity Center in McAllen, Monica has witnessed a remarkable increase in her mother's activity and engagement. Monica herself has been an active participant in Caregiver SOS educational programs since 2023, gaining valuable tools and support along the way. This is her story.
My name is Monica Sampson. I am the daughter of Dr. Alfonso and Martha Morales. I can tell you that my parents met at a very young age. They dated for several years, they got married, had 4 children, and overall were able to enjoy a very happy, strong, and loving marriage. Around the time that Dad turned age 80, we started to see a decline in his health. He started to lose his cognitive functions, his memory, his mobility, and his vocabulary started to diminish. My mom, of course, became his primary caregiver. My mom took care of Dad for the next 6 years until Dad's passing on January 24th of 2023. Now that the people and the tasks were gone, along with my dad, my mom's loving partner for life, I got even more worried that she would fall into depression. Being home practically alone, I was worried that she would get enough sleep, that she would eat right, and take good care of herself. A friend of hers introduced her to WellMed and took her to the to the facilities. And immediately I started to hear in her voice a change. It was vibrant. She sounded happy and joyful. She was excited to go to the center daily, work out, make friends. I was very impressed. My mom introduced me to Veronica Maillard, and she is a wonderful contact to have. She introduced me to Caregiver SOS, which is a program targeted to caregivers to give them the information, the tools, and the space to talk and cope with all the hardships of taking care of someone. She also invited me to the 9-week stress management program, which is a program that I highly recommend because it will also give you the tools to manage stress. And it gives you a safe place to discuss and share your experience, talk about the pain points, and obtain strategies to manage stress better. I highly recommend to anyone who's taking care of someone to attend these sessions, to become a part of Caregiver SOS, and also to sign up for the 9-week stress management program.
Thank you, Monica. We really appreciate you sharing. And those are some cool pictures of your folks. Now, before we send you on your way, there's a couple of important items we need to cover. The summit was recorded and will be uploaded to our website, caregiversos.org, by early next week. You can watch it again, catch things you may have missed or wanted to hear more of, and share that with friends and neighbors and anyone you know who may be a caregiver or a healthcare professional. November 13th, the Spanish Summit will be from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock Central Time. To register, go to caregiversos.org or scan the QR code on the screen. That tiny little QR code. Just remember that you don't have to go on this journey yourself. There is help available, like the area agencies on aging, federally funded organizations that coordinate and provide services to help older adults live independently and safely in their communities. Information centers for community resources. This is a good place to start your search for available help in the community. Provide free short-term services for people 60 years of age or older, as well as for family or friends caring for someone 60 years of age or older. Now, to find your local area agency on aging, go to www.acel.eldercare.gov or call 800-677-1116. That's 800-677-1116. Another great resource is Caregiver SOS. It provides information and support at no cost to family members and friends caring for an older loved one. 2 programs that are available virtually and again at no cost. Caregiver Teleconnection, hour-long educational sessions with caregiving experts, and they now have some 30-minute sessions if you don't feel you have an hour to give. Participate live or listen to recordings anytime, anywhere. You can log into the Zoom platform or just call in if that's your preference. And the Stress Busting Program, you've heard that mentioned a couple of times today, a 9-week evidence-based program proven to reduce stress, anger, and anxiety and improve your quality of life. You will learn stress management and coping skills. To find out more, go to www.caregiversos.org or call 866-390-6491. 866-390-6491. And let me thank our sponsors one more time because they make all this happen. Sacred Mission Hospice, Veranda Rehab and Healthcare, Learning Skills Together, Amable, Christus Palliative and Hospice, Cigna, Geneva Hospice, Humana, Legacy Insurance and Wealth Services, Loss of Life Advocates, Mobility 101, USA Renal, Amor Eterno, Brookdale Trinity Towers, Certified Senior Advisor, Clean, Zoom Respite and Housekeeping, EV Texas Fire Services, Medicare Pro, The Bridges at Mission, Uresti Senior Assistance, Vitas, Brookdale Trinity Towers in Corpus Christi, Cameron County Public Health, Guiding Light Hospice, Jack in the Box, Jason's Deli in McAllen, Texas, New Horizon Healthcare in Brownsville, and Older Adult Technology, AARP. We look forward to seeing all of you next year for the Caregiver Summit. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Elvis has left the building.